What do we learn from the book of Judges? What's the big picture? What's the main theme? What are the main characters? What's the basic message that we need to take away from this book? Well, there's many things that we could say. But I think if you had to summarize it in one word, it would be the word reversals. This book is full of reversals. The people of Israel would go up against their enemies and they would win. And then they would turn around and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And so they would provoke the Lord to the point that he would allow their enemies to get the better of them and oppress them for a period of time until a judge would arise. And then they would defeat their enemies and win. And then they would turn around and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the cycle would start all over again. It's just a continuous cycle of backsliding and oppression and deliverance and rest, only to have the cycle start all over again. And I think one of the reasons that God allowed this to happen to the nation of Israel is because he wanted them to see that their strength was not in their judges. There were 12 judges that are mentioned in this book. And the last one, and some of these were really great warriors, the last one is actually a woman named Deborah, who's probably one of the most notable women in the Old Testament. But the last thing that she says in her song, after they've defeated their enemies, she says, "Until I had risen, until a mother in Israel had saved," which means delivered, "until I had risen and become a mother in Israel. It was not thus in days of old, and thus shall it not be in days to come." So the point is that God wants his people to understand that their strength is not in their judges, but their strength is in him. We see that throughout this book. God will send the same person multiple times to deliver Israel. For instance, Gideon is called to deliver Israel 3 different times, and the first 2 times he refuses. And then the 3rd time he sends an angel of the Lord to encourage Gideon to go and do it. And he finally says, "Okay, I'll do it." And then he defeats the Midianites. And there's another one where God says, "How many times must I deliver you?" And they're saying, "We're being oppressed by our enemies." And he says, "Is not the God of your father the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? He who delivered you out of the land of Egypt, he who delivered you out of Philistia, he who delivered you out of the hand of the Syrians." So in other words, if I can just deliver you one time, I can deliver you again. We serve a God who specializes in delivering his people. So what should we take away from this book? Do not give in to the temptation to live however you want and to worship whoever you want. Because at the end of the day, it will only lead to bondage and it will only lead to heartache. But God is faithful. And no matter how many times we mess up, no matter how many times we backslide, he is always there to forgive us and to cleanse us and to restore us and set us back on the right path.